So our next presenter is Mr. Jesper Odde Madsen from Denmark. He is a Danish scientist, science journalist and communication consultant specializing in complementary and alternative medicine. Please welcome.
Thank you, and seems to be working great.
Good.
And you know, I'm not Italian, but I prefer to stand, like you said. This is, yeah, it works. Yeah, I'm so happy to see all of you, but especially Thomas, who's not here, but Thomas. But he can hear me in his soul, I think, to be invited to such a great event in such a magic place, I should say. Just very short, who am I? As you said, I'm a journalist, a science journalist, and I've written a couple of books in Danish. It's not so interesting for you. And I'm a board member of the Danish Association of Science Journalists. And I've been working in different settings for like 25 years, talking, writing about CAM, and most of this is not so relevant maybe for you, but the only assignment, can this point? Is there a pointer as this one? Is the one in the middle?
It's working, just the arrows.
Oh, that was the arrow, yeah, okay. Anyway, number 3, the Cambrella network, I guess you heard about that. I'm not going to talk about it in details now, but of course you can ask me about it if you want to. So now you know just a little bit about who is talking to you, this strange journalist who is not sitting there as a journalist. But a little story from Denmark. As you can see, you don't understand anything, of course. I'll get back to that. In 2021, a Danish medical doctor launched a research project, a trial on homeopathy. Homeopathy against bladder infection. A randomized controlled trial. And this was, of course, announced to the public. And so this is the translation of the headline. I have learned that I should not speak while you are trying to read something. That's why I'm silent. Anyway, this is the most foolish. So what did the journalists do? They called some medical doctors who were known to have a very negative attitude towards CAM. And then they had their interviews. So this is what you could read in these newspapers. Air guitar, yes. And snake oil. And it's a waste of time and money. Well, also, in one of the articles, you could read, in Australia, England, Switzerland, and France, they have concluded that it is ineffective and that treatment should not be supported. Well, have you ever heard of a country concluding about science? Anyway, I know just a few researchers in these countries, and they definitely do not agree. And also, the journalist found something very, very suspicious, because there was this homeopathic drug in the trial. It was produced by a company, and this company paid for part of the research. Whoa! Breaking news. No, of course not. That's the way it works in the medical business. So stories like this makes me feel sad. And why didn't they do their homework, these journalists? Just a few more media quotes about CAM to underline the problem. Tooth fairies, cynicism, a voodoo, a kind of feel-good. So this was the language of highly educated journalists and academics. This example on homeopathy points to one of the big challenges. If we want to build bridges and have a fruitful dialogue with the policymakers, we're depending on solid, unbiased information. And I think there's a lot of journalists out there in the world who wants to do this kind of journalism about this. And they might be interested, and this doesn't only apply to CAM, but to anything outside the scope of mainstream science. And also, it's a pity for the health workers, because there are a lot of nurses and also some doctors who really want to talk about this, but they are invisible in the media, too. As you can guess, in my country, journalism on CAM doesn't win a prize. It may be different in some other countries, but I think it's something similar anyway. So my conclusion is that it's very difficult to cooperate and build a bridge if the statement of one party is invisible in the media. So, and I'm sorry to say that my own profession has quite a responsibility. So I promise that this is the end of the bad news. So now I'll talk about the cure. I've been looking for years for somehow to improve the communication and improve the media coverage of these issues by means of systematic cooperation and networking among researchers and journalists all over the world. So that was my dream. And last time at the virtual conference in 21, I talked about this vision. And some of you may remember that I mentioned the scientific and medical network. I always look at this screen, but there's also one here, yeah. I presented the idea and the dream for those people, and then had the same ideas, and so we started working. And last year, the Frontier Journalist Network was born. Ta-da! And we are still in the initial phase, having a lot of challenges and Zoom meetings and etc. But now it's online and it's up and running. And we did a survey among 31 interested journalists, and 77% of those are stating that there is a resistance in the media towards subjects like CAM. Not a surprise, of course. I will show you two slides. Yeah. I will stop talking while you're reading. And not any big surprises either, I think. And these journalists are interested in these 4 issues primarily. And no surprise that CAM is there, of course. I keep talking about CAM. I know we can call it a lot of different things, but to make it simple, I will just say CAM. But you have to remember that this is based on 31 respondents, so don't talk about statistics, but it's a start anyway. At the moment, we are, of course, we have the website, frontiernet.org, and you don't have to write it down, you will have the information later. And we make a newsletter, and we also had some success doing media training online for researchers, trying to make it easier for them to communicate with journalists. And we had webinars, and we had, of course, we are trying to find some journalists, which is not easy. And an example of a webinar. I guess some of you know Eben Alexander, the neurosurgeon who had a near-death experience some years ago. And it was quite interesting meeting him, so to speak. Also, we are developing some topic briefs. That means online material about CAM, for example. And then as the beginning of such a topic brief, we have a tip sheet with some bullet points, which I guess you cannot read. It's not important, but it's the first step for a journalist to see, hey, what is this about? And then he can, or she can go deeper in this topic brief. Yeah. So these are my visions. A worldwide community, online meetings, and of course counteracting this media bias. And then I would like to have some overview of the media situation in each country. Well, I guess not the entire world, but at least in some countries. How is the media set up regarding CAM? And if we can, later on, it would be great if we were able to support joint projects between journalists in different countries. The last two slides are quite important, I think, because it's about you. What can you do? You can help us and help yourselves. If you suddenly run into a journalist who is not biased and is interested in this, because he or she should really be in our little community, Frontier Journalist Network. And this information, again, you can have later. And you might also send me a good article from mainstream media about this, because it doesn't happen every day. And also because in our work we need examples when we are developing this network. Examples are useful, so also as a researcher, having these issues with media bias, again, this would be a good example for us, and we may even be able to help this person. And you can also have, you can get through the publication bias and have a peer-reviewed study in a journal, but nobody is writing about it. So this kind of people could also call me or call us. And it could be an issue like this homeopathy study I was telling you about. It could happen again in another country. And not to forget, if some of you by incident find a very good opportunity for us for funding, we are reaching out. Like every idealistic project, we are starting from zero, but we are fine with that so far. I should. Not to forget, I've given you some data about the FrontierNet and about the Scientific and Medical Network, which I really think you should know, all of you. And it's all there on the glass table. You can pick one of those handouts, or you can approach me and take a picture of me. So it's also here. Whoa. Any questions? We have a minute. Whoa. I didn't know. Feel free, or approach me later. That's your choice. But anyway, thank you for being here, and thank you for listening to me right now.
Thank you so much, Mr. Madsen. That was Mr. Jesper Madsen talking about the media bias and the cure for it. The support between journalists worldwide is crucial, as well as not being biased, and also the awareness and curiosity of the public about complementary and alternative medicine.